Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to News Dose, and if you thought game price hikes would just simply stop at $70, well, you might be in for a rude awakening because it sounds like we could get an even more excruciating price hike in the relative future and possibly as early as this year. Now, I, however, do have my own questions about this report and where it's coming from, so stick around and we'll get into all of that, as well as a rather odd decision from Xbox. First, though, I do want to thank my supporters on Patreon and on YouTube memberships. You all are absolutely awesome, and you will receive this video through early access. Let's just go and get right into things, though, starting off with a brand new limited edition PS5 controller. Now, this is for The Last of Us, and I mean, it's a controller. I'm not going to say it's necessarily a good-looking controller. It's about as good as Part 2 story, in my opinion, and it's $85. So, I mean, beauty is subjective, and we'll just simply leave it at that. What I will say here, though, is that the timing for this controller is curious. It kind of feels like it's about 3 years too late, and even more so is that this reveal comes just one day after Neil Druckmann basically told fans to not expect The Last of Us Part 3. Yeah, the timing of that. So my theory is that this controller was planned for the now canceled Factions 2, and they just didn't want to throw away the design. I mean, this type of stuff is easy money for these companies. People love buying into limited edition items, especially for games that they like. And I guess if anything else, you can imagine yourself playing the HBO The Last of Us Part 2 with this controller when that eventually airs. So there you go, it'll be available on April 10th, and pre-orders will go live on March 14th. Oh, and apparently Bethesda is planning another big year for Starfield. They just announced this over on Twitter where they said, "We know you're eager for an update, and we truly appreciate your passion for Starfield. The team has been hard at work, and while we're not ready to share specific details just yet, we have a lot of exciting things planned for the game this year that we can't wait to talk about when the time is right. We're always listening and taking your feedback to heart. Thanks for being a part of this journey with us." So there you go, and I do understand that Starfield is a very polarizing release. Personally, I gave it a solid 8. I don't think that it's Bethesda's best work in the world, but it was solid, and Bethesda has pushed out a number of significant updates post-release that has helped improve its overall quality. However, what exactly could they be referring to here is kind of the question. And there's really only two things that comes to mind. One is yet another expansion. They, of course, released Shattered Space last year, and it didn't really seem to move the needle all that much. I'm not exactly sure what their expectations was, but, there is a chance that they have another expansion in the works. Then, number two, just kind of given everything that's happened these past 12 months with Xbox, is there a chance that they could be referring to a PlayStation 5 port in 2025? Now, quite honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if that happens, but I will say, if it does, I fully expect a lot of flip-flopping from accounts that previously hated doing it. Suddenly they're gonna cheer, which I think kind of tells you everything that you need to know about their authenticity. Pay close attention, and I'll just leave it at that. But absolutely do expect more Starfield news as the year rolls on. Now, we also got some news for you Suikedon fans out there. It's been long enough since you all have had anything to cheer about, but that changes today. The Suikedon 1 and 2 collection is now officially available, and also a brand new game was just announced. Now, there is a caveat with that one, so just kind of bear with me for a second. But first, reviews have pegged the collection at a 79 overall score, which, quite honestly, I'm a little bit surprised by. I was expecting a bit higher than this, but what I will say here is that based on what I've read, there's really not a lot of complaints. Visually, it looks like it received a nice overhaul. It's almost an HD 2D upgrade, but however, some critics wanted more quality of life improvements, especially for its inventory management. Now, I will say for myself, I would have enjoyed voiced dialogue. I feel like they should have followed in Square Enix's footsteps in how they bring their HD 2D games to life with voice acting. I think that is just a great addition for these classic JRPGs, but hey, it is what it is. If you're a Suikedon fan, or if you just like classic JRPGs, you're probably going to like this collection of games, especially Suikedon 2, which is often viewed as an all-time great for the genre. Now, as for the brand new game, this is Suikedon Starleap. It's set before the events of Suikedon 1, but after the events of Suikedon 5. And I mean, when you see its trailer, it actually looks pretty good. It follows the traditional art style of Suikedon, which I think is the right direction here, but there is a caveat for this game. For the time being, it's a mobile exclusive. It'll be available for Android and iOS devices, and just given how mobile games work, there's that immediate concern that this will be another gotcha cash grab more than an actual meaningful sequel. Now, to be fair, there are a few rare exceptions. Mistwalker's Fantasian, I'd say, is a pretty good example of a high-quality JRPG that was designed with mobile devices in mind. So hopefully this will be the game that you Suikoden fans have been asking for, even if it's not necessarily the device that you are asking for it to be on. But for the time being, we don't have a release date. Okay, so let's go into the big news here, and that has to start with yet another potential price hike for video games. So we're not talking about hardware, and we're not even talking about tariffs. Of course, that's a big conversation on its own, and just how that will impact different merchandise. That's for a different topic. But we have gotten a few reports over the last 2 months that there are certain publishers within the game industry that wants to find an excuse, any excuse, to raise the price of their games. Now, we first heard about this back in January when the Video Games Chronicle reported that there is a quote-unquote hope within the industry that Take-Two will charge an unprecedented $100 for GTA 6 because that in itself will give them an excuse to raise the prices of their own games. Yeah, this is their way to counteract outrageous modern AAA budgets that's really caused by long development times, unnecessary priorities, and quite frankly, poor management. We, the customer, I guess, should pay for those decisions, and GTA 6 will allegedly be the catalyst for some of these companies. Well, now we're getting another report, but this time from a video games analyst. Now, I have my own opinion when it comes to these so-called video game analysts and just how outlets position them. I mean, it's a job title, and it makes the report feel more professional, but just take them with a grain of salt, and I'll simply leave it at that. However, this prediction comes from Michael Pachter, and okay, so he said, "We think the company has plans to sell the game at a previously unheard of price point and suspect that management can offer consumers an incentive to pay $100 or more per unit by rewarding them with a large amount of in-game currency to be spent in GTA Online. There is a precedent for integrating an online game experience with a premium game, as Activision did so with both Call of Duty Warzone and Call of Duty Mobile content prior to the release of its annual Call of Duty premium installment. In Activision's case, the integration led to a 40% increase in sales of Call of Duty Premium. In Take-Two's case, we think a successful integration of GTA Online and GTA 6 can lead to a $100 price point for the premium game." Now, this is an interesting take that really combines the single-player component and the multiplayer component into a single price. My main issue with his theory, though, is that there's already examples out there that kind of goes against what he's saying. Something that modern companies have kind of learned over the years is that there's different types of people that buys into games for different types of reasons. You know, there's people who only buy into said game for its single player. And then there's other people that only buy into it for its multiplayer. So now what we're seeing from a lot of these games is that they're separating the two components as completely different entities. In fact, GTA is one of those games. You can buy GTA 5 and get the multiplayer portion with that game, but if you want to just buy GTA Online as its own standalone game, you can do that as well at a cheaper price. Now, they might charge more this time for a combined version. Maybe they will charge that $100 price for both its online and its single-player components combined, but I would still expect a cheaper alternative for people who just want the single player and nothing else, because there are a lot of people that are just going to play that version of the game. Otherwise, they would just be limiting their reach. If they were to sell the multiplayer portion only through GTA 6 and you couldn't buy it as a standalone game like they're doing already with GTA 5, then that means that they would reach less people, and that means a lot less money from microtransactions and things like that. So I agree with Michael Pachter, but I also disagree with him in the sense of how he's laying it out. He's right in the sense that there is likely going to be a more expensive version that will be sold at a higher price, and that's going to include online options. But I don't think that's going to be the only version that fans will have to choose from. Now, I will say, even for the single-player portion of the game, I wouldn't be shocked if it comes in at a higher price than what we're typically used to seeing. I don't know if it'll necessarily be $100 as some people believe, but, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if it comes in at a higher price, let's say $80 as one such example. And really, that's just because this is a unique franchise that could probably get away with a higher price tag given how popular it is. I mean, I still think they need to be mindful about its price to at least some extent, but, will other developers come in and see that price and then try to follow suit? Yeah, probably. They'll probably get a lot more pushback than GTA 6, but I think by next generation, there is a likely chance that we will see $80 be the new norm. I think companies want that to happen. We're hearing rumblings about it. GTA 6 could be the first domino. We'll see about all of that. But let me know what you all think about this in the comments below. Give me your predictions below. Do you think they will actually charge $100? If not, do you think that they'll charge a higher $80 price tag? Or do you think they're just going to simply go with that $70 price tag like we're used to seeing? Let me hear your predictions in the comments below. Okay, now one more thing before we go. Over the past few days, there's been a lot of rumblings about a Gears of War collection. I mean, we've been hearing about this collection for a long time. I'm still crossing my fingers for it. But now we're hearing that it could be set for this year in 2025, and its announcement might include a few surprises. This rumor seemed to have first gained momentum when a person by the name of Detective Seeds claimed that a Gears of War collection was found on PlayStation's backend, where it only shows support for single player. Now, my thing about this rumor is that this comes from a person without a track record. They've offered no proof at all, and I haven't really seen anybody corroborate these claims either. So it's a rumor that seems to be spreading right now, but I don't really see a logical reason for that. And that's why I would say that just kind of take this information with a massive grain of salt. But the reason that we're talking about this at all is because of Jess Corden. Now, he is a person that does have a track record, and while he wasn't able to confirm this specific rumor that it's allegedly on the PlayStation backend, he, however, has heard that this collection might not ship with multiplayer. And that's a little bit odd if true. Now, if you don't know this about me, I'm a massive Gears of War fan. It, along with Pokemon and Uncharted, are my top 3 favorite franchises of all time in no specific order. So I'm very aware of what makes the Gears of War franchise just so special and what fans want from this franchise. The Gears community is special in itself, and while I think the original trilogy has a good story, the multiplayer is still a huge part of what makes these games so great, and it keeps the community together. And I know the community wants a Gears of War collection to basically get the Master Chief Collection treatment. So that means single player and multiplayer combined. They both need to be there. So this would be a very odd decision if it wasn't included. Now, some people have pointed to Gears of War E-Day because, the devs might want the Gears community to support its multiplayer instead. And okay, that might be true, but that just kind of tells me that they should properly space out both releases like they did with Halo. Halo Master Chief Collection released in 2014, and then Halo 5 released in 2015. So give us the Gears Collection with multiplayer in 2025, and then drop Gears E-Day in 2026 during its 20th anniversary. I think that makes sense, and everybody will be happy. So, I don't know. This is only a rumor for the time being, but let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you believe it? And if so, do you think this is a mistake by Xbox, or do you think that it will still sell very well? I'm going to buy it no matter what, but no multiplayer. Admittedly, that would be a little bit disappointing. That's going to be it for this episode, though, but until next time, make sure to subscribe, ring that bell, and peace out.